Good morning. It's a very overcast morning. Hopefully you can see me. I don't have much lighting out here, and so we're going to have to do with what we have. This is Granny and Grumpy's greenhouse, and so I hope y'all are having a blessed morning. This morning I'm going to show you, I do most of the weeding in the greenhouse and the watering. Not 100% of it, but I do the biggest majority, probably 80%. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to use a couple of instruments, tools that I have purchased, my husband and I, so that we can do this a little bit simpler, a little bit easier. You do have to make sure that the ground is fairly dry when you start this process, because if you don't, the ground, with it wet, it deters the push and pull of it. The first instrument that we're going to show, it's not this one, but I want it out of the picture for the moment. The first one is this, and this is called a push and pull scuffle hoe. This is made by the American veterans, not veterinarians, but veterans, and it is made here in the United States. And so it's a very useful tool. As you can tell, it's pretty sharp looking. I mean, as far as sharp, like, you know, pointy. It's sharp looking as well, but anyhow, it's very, could be very, very dangerous if you allow children to play with it. We have a 5-year-old granddaughter who on Thursdays always likes to come out here in the greenhouse with Grumpy and water plants, and she uses a scuffle hoe some. But he does not allow her to do that, and nor would I. I could emphasize a million times over, and hopefully you'll hear me, that it is not a tool that you should leave with a child unattended, because it could be dangerous for them. Any child 10 and under would be needed to be supervised. So anyhow, it's a very easy instrument to use. The reason why it's called a push and pull is because you can push and pull it. So let's get started, because I've got 2 beds here that need to be done. We're only going to do one on the video. So you place it on the ground, as so. Now you can get somewhat close to your plants, but not real close to your plants. You're going to push and pull it forward and backwards. You can go in between plants, just don't get real near your plants. I've let this go for about 3 to 4 days now, trying to make sure there was plenty of weeds for you to be able to see me uproot, because elsewise you might not. I've been doing this now for some time in here in this box, and we've gotten it really good under control compared to what it was when it got started. We had carrots in here in the beginning, and the carrots got so thick that we sorry, it's hard to do and talk at the same time. The carrots got so thick that you couldn't hoe between them. You couldn't do anything between them. It was just a mass of mess. And there's a baby carrot now growing. Boom, gone now. So we had a real difficult time with being able to control weeds because of it. And so when we took the carrots up to give to a friend of ours that's sick that wanted the carrots so that they could juice them, it ended up that, you know, how are we going to get these weeds out of here? It was trillions of them. And so that's all we're going to do with the scuffle hoe. Now this one's my favorite, simply because it's not heavy. It's very, very lightweight comparatively. This, you can see, is very sharp. Again, do not leave it with a child unattended that's 10 years old and younger, because they could get hurt very, very badly. This is something that you can use and get close to your plants. It won't hurt them in any way as long as you're careful. And these plants are all too big to really do too much damage to anyway, because they're past the little tiny babyhood. Doesn't take long. They come up pretty easy. Chop, chop, they're gone. Now, I don't normally recommend throwing anything outside of your bins that you planted in. However, I have had a little bit of trouble this year with the big ones that I've let go so you can see them. They want to relocate somewhere whenever you do this, and so what I do is, if some of them have come up and whole, and not been chopped, sometimes with the scuffle hoe they get chopped. Then things like this, I'm going to naturally throw out of the box, because it's going to do nothing but replant itself somewhere, wherever it lands, because the roots are still connected. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with watching and talking. Sometimes the roots will dry out in the box if you just leave them on top. But like those three there, if I just leave those sitting on the top, then they should not reattach themselves in the ground. It's when you get it up under the dirt, like all of these, I'm trying to let them lay on top. And that way it won't matter, because then they can just, that one on top too. Then they'll just simply dry out, the roots will, and then they can't reattach themselves because they're dry. So, doesn't take long to do any hoeing and stuff when you use tools that are really good, that do the work fast. When I was growing up, Grandma Minnie and Grandpa Murray, they had a big garden. We're not talking about like an acre. We're talking about acres and acres. And in the summertime, there was 6 of us grandkids in total. And so in the summer, we got to help in the garden, to say the least, about it. So, we also did learn, though, from the experience of doing that, how to learn to can and to freeze items. My mother especially loved pickles, so as a child I canned pickles with my mother. So I canned a lot of green beans in my life too with her, and then I have canned some as an adult. We did not have a place, we didn't live in a place where we could have a big garden for a long time. We'd had just like little tiny peon things, and doing a lot of experimentation and stuff like that. But now we've got what we've longed for all these years. And it might come more in our golden years, but that's okay. My husband's 68, I'm 65. And it's okay if it's in the latter parts. So I will tell you this, that we have grown a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. I'll show you in a minute when I get finished with this. We have grown a lot of what you classify as cruciferous greens. And these greens, get past here a minute, a little trapped here. These greens, there's a great big one. Uproot. These greens are extremely healthy. We have been taking them, and every morning for breakfast and every supper, we have been, instead of eating other food, we have been taking the greens and making smoothies with them. Well, my husband, I asked him yesterday evening, I said, would you say that you feel any different yet? Because these veggies are what you would classify as full spectrum. And he said, oh yes, I feel so much better. And he said, and I don't think he's eating as much either, so he is wanting to lose a little bit of weight, and so am I. You know, in the wintertime, you seem to put on a little weight because you don't get outside as much. And with the greenhouse, that's true and not true. We have been doing stuff out here, but not like we've been doing recently. And so, anyway, he said he was feeling so much better that he could go for longer, and that he was really grateful, you know, because it seems to be making a big difference in his life, and because they're full spectrum, that means that he is getting the full benefit of what he needs out of the greens in order to have more energy. So this is what I can tell you from experience, is that if you'll grow your greens and do them full spectrum, that requires, you need to have a soil test. Let me go back around because I think I'm not on the screen anymore. Can't really see it from this far because it's a little darker on the screen than usual because it's so overcast outside. Anyhow, we're done with our weeding, and everything looks good. But you do have to have a soil test. In order to have full spectrum, because you're going to have all the minerals that your ground is lacking. And I had a couple little ones right there that I couldn't reach and still stay on the picture. I'm having some nasty old we got big ants and we got fire ants. Well, fire ants have venom, and they, I may have destroyed one. Let's hope not. Let's hope it comes back up whenever I water. Because it's leaning a little bit. Not too bad. Anyway, the fire ants, they have venom. So they make you sore and they hurt, they itch for days. Worse than any mosquito you've ever had, I can promise you. And then we have these great big ants that look very much like fire ants. But they're not fire ants. They do bite. Praise God they don't have any venom, because the size of them, that would be bad. So anyway, I get bit occasionally by the great big fat ants, and so I reckon I taste good or something. Anyhow, I don't know what they're after, because all they do is just bite you, and that's it. They don't take any blood or anything. But anyway, this is the way we do the garden when we hoe, and it's very easy to do. Now, if you'll give me just a second, I'll turn this camera around, and I will show you what the rest of the garden looks like. Okay, so here we go for the other half. So as you can see, here's our tomato garden. We already have small tomatoes. They're already setting on this one a lot. We've got a lot on there. These aren't cherry tomatoes, not to my knowledge. They're too big for cherry tomatoes. But anyhow, this is the system that Bob put in. That it has the strings. It starts down with a clip at the bottom to help give them some weight boost, so that they're not all crunched down in a big old blob. This way, instead of putting a stake or a wire cage around it or whatever, it just tends to climb up the string. When it gets to the top, to a certain point, then he lowers it a little bit so that he can start attaching roots. He'll lower it a little bit over time, every day or every other day, so that it doesn't break the stem, but that it actually replants itself and continues growing. And so it's an experiment we're doing. We're going to see how it works. And over here is our cruciferous greens. Now, my husband and I have a personal belief from what we see from the Bible, that when you share what you have with others, you can never outgive God. And so when you share what you have, He enriches more of what you have to take care of you. And so what I've been doing is I've been taking this chard here, and I've been cutting all the big leaves out to where it's just small leaves. I might leave one big leaf on each stalk. And then with the Russian red kale and the curly leaf kale, I'll do the same thing. And I've been giving it away because we can't eat all this. I mean, I could make smoothies 3 times a day. I still couldn't eat all this. I could eat salad with the smoothie. I still can't eat all this. It just keeps coming. So, which is a good thing, you know, because this is the kind of garden that you want to have so that you can feed others, because we do live in perilous times right now. There's a lot of people around you that you don't even realize don't have food for 3 meals a day. They may only get 1 meal and that's it. Not because that's what they preferred, but because it's what they could get. And so what you do is you scout around and you ask people, do you know of anybody who needs something? You know, would they eat this if we give it to them? So we put these in white food grade buckets, the 5-gallon ones that you can get. You can get them most anywhere. I get them at Walmart. I also get them at Lowe's and Home Depot. Sometimes they have them, sometimes they're sold out. But anyhow, you just put about this much water in the bottom, cold water. It's got to be cold. And here in the greenhouse, there's nothing but cold, so I'm in good luck there. But anyhow, you whack it off down here towards the bottom, not totally the bottom, just about 2-3 inches, 4 inches up above the bottom. And then you just stack them. Then you put them down in the water, the stem, so that until you can get to them that day, now you don't want to leave this overnight, but that day, then you can, you know, go ahead and have them in water so they'll stay fluffed up, they won't wilt, and you have to throw them away or anything. They'll stay fluffed up as long as they're in the water, the stem, and so the bottom of the stem. So it's kind of like on like a flower. When you break a flower off and you put it in the house and you put it in a vase, well, it stays nice for a few days, but then it starts to get stinchy, and that's when they start to die because the water is stagnant. So if you can't get it to it till the next morning, my advice is, before you go to bed, make sure that you dump that water out in your tub, let it go down the drain, and then fill it up with more cold water about this far, so that the stem can actually be in the water, and it can keep fluffed up overnight till you can get to it the next morning. I do this off and on all the time, and because I don't want to come out real early at 6 o'clock in the morning out here at night before I go to bed, right before it gets dark, I come out to the greenhouse and I get chard and kale to put into our smoothies. So my husband's feeling so much better. I can say that I am able to get up a little earlier than usual. Well, the fans are starting. It's getting hot here. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed seeing what we have going here in the garden. There's much more. We have other cruciferous vegetables in them. We've got cauliflower and baby Brussels sprouts, and we've got broccoli, cabbage growing, and pepper plants. Woo! Those things are trying to do. But anyhow, I hope that you have enjoyed looking at what's going on here in the greenhouse and learning a little easier way of doing your hoeing. Have a blessed day, and thank you so much for joining